Hi, this is Alex, and if you love music, well, you've come to the right place because we're all about albums. I have been a movie lover even longer than I've loved and collected music. In fact, I remember the first movie I really loved. I was only 5 years old, but I remember being at the theater and seeing for the first time Mary Poppins. Yes, I remember not only the movie itself, but I think what really cemented it for me was the songs within the movie. What really appealed to me was the closing song, which was Let's Go Fly a Kite, as well as the silly song Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Which kid didn't love to say that word to their parents after they went to the movie theater and saw that film? And yet, even though I started my love of movies at the age of 5, it wasn't until I was 12 years old till I purchased my first vinyl album. So I thought, what if I can combine these two loves, my love of movies and musical artists? Now, I'm not talking about soundtracks. What I'm actually talking about is something entirely different. What I used to do is I would love it when a movie would have a guest appearance by a musical group that really the movie wasn't at all about. They just happened to do a cameo. And I used to kind of take mental notes of these movies, and I thought one day I may revisit it, and so I'm doing that today. So this gave me the idea to see how well you out there might remember the cameo appearances of bands that appeared in motion pictures. And I thought I would construct a quiz. Now, some of the films that I will talk about will have kind of very easy cameos that you will remember. Others will be a little bit more difficult, and a couple will be really difficult for you out there who thought the first several were too easy for you. So the way I will do this is I will show you a relatively well-known movie. That is, I will show you the billboard for the movie. And after that, I will give you two chances. I will go through all the movies. I believe there will be 11 movies that I will be showing. And then after that, I will give you a second attempt to think about it again. And I will again show the movie posters and give you a few seconds after each to figure out what you think your answer is to the mystery band in that film. The movies I will show will span from the 1960s up to the 20-teens. And we will now get to see how well you know your movies and the bands that performed in those films. So let's begin. Good luck. And here's our first movie. I thought I'd start out with an easy one. It's the 1994 film, The Flintstones, featuring John Goodman with Rick Moranis. And you need to figure out who the band is. I think most of you will get this one. This one's kind of easy. The second film is a very famous film from the 1960s. It came out in 1967, starred Sidney Poitier, and it is To Sir with Love. No, I am not looking for Lulu. She was obviously within the film the entire time. She was a student in the film, as well as a solo singer featured a few times during the film. But there is a moderately well-known rock group from the 1960s in this film. See if you can remember who they are. Next up is the 1983 film Valley Girl, starring a very young Nicolas Cage. And in this one, I'll give you a hint. This film featured some new wave artists. And I say artists in that they were two different artists that performed in this film. So I will give you a full point for each one that you know. So, you get a little extra bonus here. So good luck with this one. And what would any quiz be without one of those beach films from the 1960s? And this is probably the most famous one. It's the 1965 movie, Beach Blanket Bingo. And there was a moderately famous band. They did have a couple of hit songs, top 40, I would say, in the 1960s, and they did perform in this film. This one's a little bit more difficult, but if you get this one, you're probably really a movie buff and a music buff. All right, for those of you counting, we're up to number 5, and this was a big comedy film from 2011, and it is Bridesmaids. Yeah, it was quite a funny film. I think this is one of the easier ones as well, and I will give you a hint. The band that performed at the very end of the film, so maybe that might jar that memory of yours. Next up is a 1986 film featuring Rodney Dangerfield, and the title of the film is Back to School. Also, I will give you a hint. The band that performed was a new wave band, and their first and second name, they rhymed. So that's your little hint there. Next up is a film that my kids loved, and it was Pee-wee's Big Adventure, A Boy and His Bike. And also I will give you a little bit of a hint. The band performing also appeared towards the end of the film. Next up is our 8th unknown band, and this came out in 1993. It was the follow-up to the very successful Wayne's World, obviously entitled Wayne's World 2, and the band performing here was a pretty big band that had a couple of big hits back in the day, and were also having some hits a little bit more recently as well. Okay, number 9 is the cult classic from 2000, High Fidelity, starring John Cusack. And again, we have a super big artist who appeared in this film performing a song, I believe, solo. So he wasn't with the band, he was performing solo, and I said he, so that's a hint as well. It's a male performer, so there you go, another hint. And now up to number 10, and I'm going to talk about one of the most famous comedies of all time. Came out in 1974 by Mel Brooks. It's his classic film, and I still laugh when I see several scenes from this film, and that is Blazing Saddles. Who can forget that film? I remember seeing it when it first came out in the theater. I was only going to do 10, but I thought this one some people might get, and it's another film from the 80s. It's from 1985. The film was Vision Quest. And the little hint here is, if you don't remember what the movie was about, it was about a high school guy who was into wrestling, and he meets this mysterious older woman that he becomes attached to, and yet he gets to still focus on his goal, which is to win the state championship in wrestling. So hope that jars memory of that film, and probably one of the mega stars from the 1980s performed in this film. Not waste any time, and let's get to the answers. Okay, so the first one I thought was a giveaway, and of course it's the B-52s. Actually, in the films they call themselves the BC-52s. But I thought that was the giveaway one. Most of you probably have seen the film. And anyway, they played their own version of the theme song from the Flintstones. Now, if you got this one, To Sir With Love, you're really a good movie aficionado. And I knew this one because I absolutely adore this film, and I own the soundtrack. I think I bought it in the early 70s. Anyway, this is the Mindbenders. Yes, they had a bunch of hit songs, and they actually backed up Lulu, and they played in the gymnasium 2 songs. One is It's Getting Harder All the Time, and the other song was Off and Running. In Valley Girl, as I said, there were 2 guest appearances. One was the Plimsolls, which is a cool band. I love them. That featured the artist Peter Case. And also the second artist is Josie Cotton, who had several hit songs in the 1980s. And I believe she performed a couple of songs during the film. Again, as I said, 1 point for each one right. So you don't get half a point if you knew one or both, 1 point each. Okay, although this is a very well-known film, Beach Blanket Bingo, I thought this was one of the harder ones. And this was the 60s surf band, the Hondells. During the film, they performed Cycle Set and the instrumental Freeway. Okay, the other easy one is number 5, Bridesmaids, and that was, of course, Wilson Phillips. They made a big deal about it during the film. At the beginning, there was a very funny scene early on in the film when they brought up Wilson Phillips, and then, of course, at the end, they performed one of their hit songs to close the film. Okay, number 6, Back to School, another tough one, but for those of you who've seen the Rodney Dangerfield film a couple of times, you might have recognized Oingo Boingo. Yes, that was the rhyming new wave band, Oingo Boingo. Next up is Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and towards the end of the film, there's a funny scene, and Pee-wee kind of interrupts a video take of Twisted Sister trying to record a music video, and they were playing the song Burn in Hell. Now in Wayne World 2 from 1993, Aerosmith performed, and they performed during, instead of Woodstock, they performed in what they titled Wayne Stock. And they performed the song Shut Up and Dance. Okay, for those of you in the New York, New Jersey area, you better have gotten this one, the number 9 film High Fidelity. It featured, yes, the boss, Bruce Springsteen, and it went back and forth during his singing with John Cusack as he was lying in bed and kind of thinking about music in general, but it's kind of a cool scene. If you don't remember it, you should check it out. There is a YouTube video on this scene that you can check out. Okay, we're getting towards the end. Number 10, Blazing Saddles, and this one was kind of, how they did it was funny. They have Cleavon Little. He was riding on horseback, and he's in the desert, and he's just riding, and the camera's focused on him, and there's music playing in the background, and of course as he gets closer, there it is in the middle of the desert is the Count Basie Orchestra with Count Basie performing a song, and it was kind of very funny and clever way, and that's just the mind of Mel Brooks. So Count Basie and his orchestra performing in Blazing Saddles. And the last film, number 11, is Vision Quest. And as I said, it was a megastar, and it was one of the 2 or 3 biggest stars from the 1980s. Some people would say it was the biggest star, and that is none other than Madonna. Okay, so let's see how you did. I think if you got none of them right, or maybe one right, I would tell you, you got to get out more and see some movies, or at least, sit on the couch and stream some of these cool films from back in the day. If you got 2 to 3 right, okay, you probably go out to the movies and enjoy some flicks. Good for you. If you got 4 or 5 right, I'm kind of impressed. Some of these were pretty hard. I thought 2 were easy, but still, if you got 4 or 5 right, I would say that's very satisfactory. Probably I'd give you a B-. So good job. If you got 6 or 7 right, I would say you did a great job, and I would call you a movie enthusiast. And I think if I would have taken this quiz cold, I may not have gotten 7 right, so good job. You probably would have beaten me, or at least tied me taking this quiz. If you got 8 or 9 right, I would say you are a true aficionado and I think movies are your thing. And or you have a great memory, so you're probably a lot younger than me. Finally, 10 or more right, expert, A++, and I would say maybe you used to own a video store or was a manager at a video store to know all those answers, because some were pretty hard, I must admit. Well, that's it for the quiz. I hope you had fun with this one. I sure enjoyed putting this one together, and maybe we can do another one of these in the future. Let me know what you thought and how you did on this quiz, if it was exceedingly difficult or you thought it was just about right. As always, this is Alex with All About Albums. Thanks for listening. Have a great day, and remember, keep them spinning.